Well, guys, thank you for this new session that we have started a while back. And yesterday we discussed a couple of options regarding the font type, size, bold, italic, underline, and then strike through and subscript and superscript. So today we'll move on with our other options. So let me type something here and we can, I'll type is equal to rand and it will give me a couple of paragraphs. Suppose there's a heading written, for example, my article. And when you type my article, you can select it and apply a few other options. Like, for example, I want to increase its size. Now, in order to make it short, we can increase the size by pressing Control Shift and greater sign. It will increase the size from the keyboard. These are shortcuts, Control Shift and greater sign. And if you want to decrease the font size, we can say Control Shift and lesser sign. So this way you can, through your keyboard, you can do all these things. If you want to make it bold, so bold starts with B, so we say Control B is the shortcut for bold. If you want to italicize it, you can say Control I, it italicizes it. If you want to put an underline, you can say Control U, and it will put an underline under the selected text, whatever it is. So basically our selected text is our heading. And later on then we can go and apply some other options, like we have some here, some text effects. You can select any of these text, the visuals that you can see here. So if you click any of them, for example, if you click this one, it has a shadow. So it should bring a small shadow over here, which if I zoom it, you will be able to see it. Or if even if I increase the size of my text, so you will be able to see a shadow over here. It's a smaller shadow. Similarly, you can apply other options. It is only for showing you. It's a ridiculous size that we applied. So if you click this, so with any of them you can play around and do it, make it according to your own choice and preference. Now there are sub options. Since this is an advanced Microsoft Word class, so we'll be discussing each and every single possible action that underneath we have for them. If you want to change the color, for example, you love this style but you don't love this color, so if you click this one and then go back and tell them that okay, I need this style but in a different color. So if you click a color, it will give you, look, there is a shade. I think if you can see it, it is a border color in fact, because it says outline color, not the color of the text. If you say no outline, it will not have an outline. If you say more outline colors, so if you don't like any of these colors, you can click more outline colors, and there are so many other colors, and you can even create your own colors from here, and even select from here and there, and then arrange it according to your choice, and then click OK. And at the borders, you can see these are the borders, the outline. It will change the outline color. Similarly, if you go back and click the shadow, now you like the shadow, but this shadow, if you can see it, let me bring it here. You want a shadow for this text, right? So when you go to text effects and click shadow, you want this type of shadow, which is under the text. You want a leaned shadow by the side from right to left. You want a shadow for to upper right, and similarly there are so many other options, and you can click any of them and it will give you a new shadow. And if it suits your needs, you can simply click it and it will apply the shadow. Over here you can see there's a shadow over here and over here, so we have the shadow thing here. Now similarly, if you go back and click the reflection thing, if you want a reflection, what is a reflection? Reflection is a basic picture of what you have selected. So if you want a reflection for this text, you can click it and it will give you a reflection. So these are different types of reflections. Suppose I like this kind of reflection. So if I click it, look, there's a reflection of my actual text. It is like when you see in the water, you can see your own reflection. So here we have selected the reflection thing. Now let's get back and click another style, for example, a simpler one. So this is a basically smaller size. I'll make it a bit small. Now we'll go to text effects, and after this then there's a glow. What is a glow? Glow is a shine basically. If you want to have a shining color around your text, so you can select any of these, and for more colors you can come here and you can select any of these colors in order to change it. For example, I cannot see a color over here that is blue and I need it with a golden blue. So I can come and select a golden blue over here. sorry, golden blue, golden yellow. Similarly, these things they work with numbers, and when we go there, I'll then talk about this in more detail. That how can we use these things and where can we use these things. So there are certain standards for people who are deprived or having some sight problems. So we can do these things with these linkages, which I'll discuss in the future lessons. Currently, we cannot because it's a very basic class that we have started now. In the future classes, then we can discuss what other options do we have here. So we are moving on our tabs. Now, suppose this is a title of what we have written here. If you want to change the background color for this text, you can click this and it will change the background color. If you want to change the text color, so you can click and say, okay, change my text color to green. It'll change it. Similarly, this option, it is basically a technical writing option. It says, for example, I'm writing something over here. So I'm writing something here, like I like to study computer. And then I suppose I remove it and put a small I. So the principle of technical writing is that the beginning of every sentence should be capital. If you click it and tell him that please make it sentence case, so it will automatically capitalize the letter I because it is a requirement of English writing. Similarly, there are other cases, like for example, if you go and click lowercase, suppose there is something written here which is in a capital case. For example, my best friend, write in capital. So we have written my best friend here and it's in capital. So if you want to convert it into small alphabets or lowercase, you can click it and it will convert it into small case. If you want to again uppercase or convert into capital case, you can click it and it will capitalize it. Capitalize each word. What does this thing mean? Suppose it's a title. My article published in the newspaper. Okay. I'll select it and make it a bit small so that we can see what's going on here. Okay. Now you can see that there's a mixture of things. Like for example, in article, this A is in small case and published is completely packet in capital, and then we have an M capital over here. If we select it and then go to our options and say capitalize each word, so it will automatically capitalize each word. What does it mean, each word? If you click it again, capitalize each word. For the first time, since there was a mixture of text, like for example, some of them they were capital and some of them they were small and some of them, when we clicked it for the first time, it converted all of them into one background. And when the second time we click it, it converted, look for each word's first letter is capitalized. This is also known as title case. In most of the books and even in the newspapers, if you see the titles of certain things, they are capital each word. Every word's first letter will be capitalized. Similarly, there is an option, it's called the toggle. That is something that is the reverse of what you have already done. For example, this is capital. What is the opposite of capital? Lower. If you click this one and say toggle case, it will lower it, simple. Now in this case, if you click toggle, what happens is that, for example, M is capital, it will be brought to lowercase, while the Y is in lowercase, it will be brought to capital case. Like it is the inverse of your selection. If you click toggle, though it is not correct according to English technical writing rules and procedures, but this function does this thing. For example, if this is in lowercase, if you click it, it will make some sense. Toggle case, what is the opposite of lowercase? It's capital case. So if you click uppercase or capital case, it will automatically change it to uppercase. Similarly, so next option that we have here, it is the text color, and you can change the text color from here. First of all, you have to select the text and then click the text color and change it to whatever color you want. There is an option of more colors. If you don't like these colors or you prefer some other color with a bit of difference, we can click more colors and the more colors. Similarly, as we discussed earlier, you can select a color and then change its density and other things. So you can have all these options. There's an option of gradient if you want to apply a gradient over here. Like for example, you want your text to be a mixture of colors. So we have a couple of gradients over here. This is a light green with white shade, and this is a dark green with black shade. If you want to make one of these gradients apply to your text, so you can click one of these. If you go to more gradient options, so there are some other options which we can also apply. For example, if you say no fill, it will remove the color of the text. The borders will be there, but the main central color will be removed. If you click solid color, it will automatically give you the solid color. And if you click gradient in the solid, let me discuss these things. If you click solid color and change the color from here, so you can click and change the color from here. It says transparency. How much transparency do you want for your color to be there? If you want to increase it, it will make it more transparent, like a glass, through which you can see. So these options are there. And then there is a text outline if you want to apply certain options to the border. This outline means border. So we can say no, no line, I don't need a border. So it will be removed. If you say solid line, I need a line, but it should be solid. So here we have, what color of line do you prefer? So suppose I say red. So it will give this text a red line. If you want to increase the size, so you can click and say double width, increase the width. If you want to have a compound type, like for example, it's a single line, I want a double line. So you click them and it will give you a double line. Though the difference is a very small difference, but you can see over here that there are two lines, the red one and the cyan color that you have here. Similarly, if you click this one and tell it, okay, I like the lining, but I need it to be single. And in single, I want this style, like for example, dotted, a combination of dotted lines or a combination of missing lines. Whatever you like, just click it and it will apply that line over there. Join type, if you want to say that, okay, for example, there are different types of joining. So before going to join type, let's see what this thing does. This cap type, it is basically an option that is related to the particles or the dots that are making this line. So if you click the square one, it will convert these dots into small square type of objects. If you zoom it, you can see that these are not round, but they are squares. If you want to change it from square to round, it will be like a ball-shaped object who are making this borderline. And if you want to make them flat, so it will give you a flat one. That's a combination of where the round is required and triangular is required. You can see that the change, this in certain points, this shape is changing. It is not actually the square. So here you can see that it is something like triangular. So this shape, it depends on where the border line is. If it requires a square, it will be square. Normally we use the round border line. It's a simpler one. The join type, like for example, when these borders are joining with each other, what should be the joining point? So it says round. If it is joining, look, it's making this border round, and you can easily understand. And then the second one is bevel. Though the changes are very small, but in some cases they may make difference. Otherwise, they are very small, and most of the time, without zooming, you cannot even recognize the difference. What difference has it got? Similarly, these options are off. It means that they do not work with text. Instead, they work with arrows, which we will discuss later on when we go to the objects section. After this, then we have a gradient line, and this gradient thing, what is a gradient? A gradient is a combination of two or more than two colors. So the preset says, okay, there are gradients. Which gradient do you like? I suppose I said this gradient color. And remember one thing, that when you are creating the gradient, these gradients have different types. For example, currently we are working with circular gradients or circle type gradients or import gradients. So the preset will show you all those different types. If you click it, it will give you another gradient type. Similarly, if you click the linear, do you want it to be linear? Linear means, like, for example, it could be horizontal or vertical, linear in one line. If it is a radial, it will be a circular type of thing. So let me change it again, and then we can move back because we need some new text. We have already messed up a lot. So we have typed some new text, and when you click it, and let's apply gradient. For example, I applied this gradient, and you can see the gradient is applied, or you can change it again and apply a new one. The type of gradient it is radial. What is radial? Radial is basically a gradient which is like a circle, and it opens from a certain spot and then spreads here and there. If you click and call it linear, it will be either horizontal. Look, it's a horizontal or vertical. It could be vertical as well, which we'll discuss in a while. So if you click the rectangular one, it will make a shape, rectangular shape, and apply the gradient on your text. And the last one is the path. For example, if you provide it a path, it will move the gradient that way. Now suppose we are making this gradient, normally people use linear. So this is a linear gradient. Which way does the gradient travel? Look, there are different variations that we can see over here. If it is like top, bottom to top, or top to bottom, or and right to left, or left to right, you can click any of them. Secondly, what is the angle of gradient? For example, it is currently 45 degrees angle. If you change it, it will change the angle to whatever angle you want to change it. Most important thing is here, so you can actually create your own gradients. Like, for example, if I click this one and say remove, it will remove the white color. Now we have two ends, white and yellow. If I say that instead of white, I need a red, you can click this button and then come to the color section and change it. So it will give you a changed gradient. What if a person wants to have more colors in a gradient? So I click insert and insert and insert. It will give you more and more options to modify your gradient. And for every single point, you can have a different color. For example, if I click this one, and then go and tell him that I need a green one, and then click on this one and tell him that okay, I need a black one, and then I click on this one and tell them that okay, I need a blue one. So there is a mixture of colors in a gradient. As I earlier mentioned, that what is a gradient? A gradient is basically a combination of two or more than two colors. So similarly, we have other options. We discussed the color thing. Now position. This position that we are changing it, like for example, if you change it here, you can see that your actual text is changing here. You can also change this position by clicking, for example, clicking one of them, the blue one. Suppose I need a smaller space for green, similar small space for this, but I need a bigger place for the blue one. So I can increase the position or move the position of this gradient split color, and here we go. Similarly, the selected pillar, if you click on the increase transparency, it will increase transparency, and in your text you can see the effect. Remember that it will only increase the transparency of the pillar that you have selected. If you click the black one, it will work only on the black one and not on the others. You can see in your text that it is working with, you can see the difference with the rest of the text. Look, it's changed from here to. Similarly, you can minimize or maximize the transparency depending on your own wants and demands. And then we have brightness option here. If you want to increase its brightness, then you can click and increase its brightness. So it depends on how you want to design your text. It is solely dependent on your needs and requirements. So these are the different options that we can work on with our text. And then we have some other options which we earlier discussed in the text effects section here. So these options are again mentioned over here. For example, if you want to apply a shadow, so you can click a preset that we earlier discussed, that from here you can select, and from this color section you can select a color the shadow. For example, if you want to apply a yellow shadow, it can show you yellow shadow. Then we also discuss the transparency, the size, the blurriness of the shadow, and other things. Similarly, the angle and the distance. So it's your homework. Work on them. If there's a question, then we can. These are very easy options because whatever you change, you can see a preview of your changes on the screen. So there is no technical issue with this thing. You check them because I earlier discussed most of them over here. So if there is a problem, then definitely you can ask me and I will respond to your question.